Hi, this is Lisa, and in this video we will talk about the rules for multiplication and division of signed numbers. The multiplication property of 0 says that for any real number a times 0 equals 0, and 0 times a equals 0. Some examples that illustrate what we're talking about with this property: 3 times 0 is 0. 1/2 times 0 is 0. Negative 1.25 times 0 is 0. Any number times 0 is 0. And 0 times any number, 0 times 5 equals 0. 0 times negative 4/3 equals 0. So anytime one of the factors is 0, the product is 0. Next, we'll talk about the division property of 0. For any real number a, such that a is not equal to 0, 0 divided by a is 0, and a divided by 0 is undefined. So some examples that illustrate this property: 0 divided by 2 is equal to 0. 0 divided by negative 3 is equal to 0. If the 0 is in the numerator, the quotient is equal to 0. However, when we have a non-zero number like 5 divided by 0, we say that this is undefined. Negative 1/2 divided by 0 is undefined. If 0 is in the denominator, the expression is undefined. Sign rules for multiplication and division. Multiplying or dividing two numbers with the same sign will result in a positive answer. So if I have 3 times 5, 3 is positive, 5 is positive, they have the same sign, I'll get a positive 15 as my answer. Negative 2 times negative 4, again, negative times negative, two numbers with the same sign gives us a positive result. 2 times 4 is 8. 12 divided by 6. Positive over positive. Two positive numbers, we get a positive answer. 12 over 6 is 2. Negative 21 divided by negative 7. Negative divided by negative. Two numbers with the same sign, I get a positive answer. 21 divided by 7 is positive 3. So numbers with the same sign, if we have two that we're multiplying or dividing, our answer will be positive. When you're multiplying or dividing two numbers with opposite signs, you will get a negative answer. So some examples here. 8 times negative 2. 1 negative, the negative stays. 8 times 2 is 16. Or negative 1 times 7. One negative number will give me a negative answer. 1 times 7 is 7, so we get negative 7. Same thing when we're dividing. Negative 18 divided by 3. I have one negative sign, the negative stays. 18 divided by 3 is 6. Or if I have 25 divided by negative 5, one negative sign, it stays. 25 divided by 5 is 5. So when you're multiplying or dividing two numbers with opposite signs, you will get a negative answer. Next, we're going to talk about the words and phrases that we use for multiplication. The product of. In your book, in your workbook, you'll notice it says the product of 3 and 2. When you see that phrase, the product of and, those go together. It tells you where to put the multiplication sign. 5 times 4. Again, times is another word we use for multiplication. Twice the sum of and. Remember, the sum of and go together. We want twice the sum. You have two phrases right next to each other. Put parentheses around that second phrase. And twice is a word that we use to mean 2 times. Okay, or we want to double the sum. So 2 times, parentheses, 3 plus 4. Of is another one of those words that we use for multiplication. And here we have half. Half represents a number, 1 over 2, and our number 4. So 1/2 times 4. When you see two parentheses right next to each other, if there's no operator there, there's not an addition sign, subtraction sign, multiplication or division signs, we automatically assume that it's multiplication. Next, we're going to talk about the words and phrases we use for division. The words and phrases we use for division. The quotient of, and. That tells you where you're dividing. 8 divided by 2. When we're doing the division problems, we can write them as fractions as they are in your workbook, or the quotient of 8 and 2 could also be written as 8 divided by 2. Miles per hour. Per tells us what we're dividing. Miles on top, hours on bottom. 25 divided by 5. Again, 25 on top, 5 on bottom. And the ratio of and tells us where we're dividing. 28 divided by 14. So those are words and phrases we use for division. These are the kinds of words and phrases that you should be memorizing. Might be helpful to put those on an index card to help you memorize. The next is a phrase that we use for both multiplication and division. 30% of. 30%. Our percent sign means we are, per means divide, and cent, a cent means 100. We're going to divide 30 by 100. And then of tells us to multiply. So we're going to divide by 100 and then multiply by 100. So here's what it looks like when we write it out. 30 divided by 100 times 100, and 30 divided by 100 times 100 simplifies to just 30. Now let's do some practice writing phrases as numerical expressions. As we've done in the previous sections, we're going to underline all of the words that represent numbers and then circle all the words and phrases that tell us where to put our operators. The product of 7 and negative 2. I have 7 and negative 2. My phrases and words, the product of and. The product of tells me I'm going to multiply, and tells me where I put that multiplication symbol. I want you to avoid using an x for multiplication because x is going to be used as a variable. So use a dot or 2 sets of parentheses. We have 7 times negative 2. In example 2, we have the ratio of 8 and 21. If I underline my numbers and then go back and circle my phrases, the ratio of and, ratio tells me to divide, so we can write it as a division problem, 8 divided by 21, or more commonly we write it as a fraction, First number in the numerator, second number in the denominator. When you're multiplying and dividing these particular phrases that we're learning, you can do everything in the same order that it's written in the phrase as you write it in your expression. Example number 3. 8 times 3 divided by 9. 8, 3, and 9 are my numbers. Times and divided by tell me where I'm going to put my operators. I have 8, 3, and 9. I'm multiplying 8 times 3, and then I want to divide by 9. In example 4, we have the quotient of negative 15 and 3, comma, times 25. So negative 15, 3, and 25, those are my numbers, my phrases. The quotient of, that tells me I'm going to divide, and I'm going to divide where the and sign is, and then times, this tells me to multiply. So I have negative 15 divided by 3 times 25. And our last example, 45% of 200 subtracted from 120. Well, my numbers, I have 45, 200, and 120. Percent of and subtracted from all tell me where I'm going to put my operators. 45%. Remember, the percent means that we're going to divide by 100. Of says we're going to multiply. And subtracted from. Remember, this is one of our special phrases for subtraction. This one we have to switch the order on. So instead of 120 coming last, 120 comes first. 120 minus, and then we can translate the rest of the phrase. We have 45 divided by 100 times 200. And there's our phrase written as a numerical expression. This will end the video for section 1.3. Remember to work on your homework and then do the quiz before going on to section 1.4. Have a good day, everybody.